Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to the news desk in New York. Kevin McCullough, glad to have you with us. And Carol Markowitz, writer for the New York Post, podcast host for the Carol Markowitz Show, which you can get anywhere you get your podcasts, and best-selling author of Stolen Youth, must read in this election cycle. Carol Markowitz rejoins us. Carol, welcome. Good to see you.
Hey, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
In your last piece for the Post, you went pretty hard after what should happen to the migrants that are running rampant, creating havoc in places like Times Square and elsewhere. You're saying what I think a lot of Americans are thinking, but what is your opinion as to why the authorities aren't doing more to stop the action?
Well, the problem is that the authorities in places like New York are all Democrats. And even the ones that we think of as sort of more sane, like the mayor or even the governor, which I don't necessarily agree with, but they get that reputation of being more moderate. They still have the leftist base that they have to contend with. So they have this base that wants open borders. And, when I say leftist base, people can, think of like the anarchist, types in the streets, the Antifa types. Sure, that exists. But Chuck Schumer wants to legalize everybody who's in the country illegally. Everybody, not like some portion, not the kids who were born here to, parents who came here illegally. Everybody. So when I say leftist base, I want people to think of somebody like Chuck Schumer, who doesn't want us to have any border, doesn't want us to have any laws in our immigration system. So the Kathy Hochul's and the Mayor Adams of the world have to deal with those people frequently. So what they face is they have to dance around what we would consider a really obvious solution, which is deporting immediately any criminals who commit crimes here. I think that's so obvious. I visited Grand Cayman a number of years ago, and I remember, talking to a waiter there, and it was like we were discussing what their policies were on drug use. And he said any tourist caught using drugs on Grand Cayman is immediately driven to the airport and deported. They don't even want you in their prison system. They're like, you know what? We don't even need to arrest you. Let's just get you on your plane and get you out of here.
That's what we call swift justice. And it's certainly not something that you see in the States. And you talk about the divide between kind of the common sense Democrat and the left. Mayor Adams has taken it a little bit from the administration for saying that his city is full and he doesn't have any more room for people. You're not even allowed.
I just want to say about that, about Mayor Adams. He has been criticized by the administration, but I want to point out to your listeners and your watchers that he never said stop the border,
Right.
Stop the border crossings, close the border, let's do something about our border. No, what he's saying is I need more money. If you want me to continue this process where I just take in the migrants and feed them and clothe them and house them and everything, I need more money. So really, it's just a money push for him. It's not about doing the right thing policy-wise. And I hate that he gets credit for being this sane voice when he completely isn't.
Well, he certainly didn't say anything for a long time, and in fact, doubled down on sanctuary status and other things. But I think at some point, the headache does become a reality because there are so many people and he doesn't have any place left to put them. And when he tries to sneakily put them across the street from a Catholic private school on Staten Island, people find out about it and they go nuts. So there is a certain degree of accountability that's being held. But I want to go back to this idea. You were talking about the situation when you talked to that waiter in Grand Cayman, and we had worse than that. We had 9 Venezuelan migrants literally beat the hooey out of 2 of NYPD's finest in Times Square. And before you could get the paperwork done, they're back out, not just on the street, they're shooting the middle finger to the news cameras that are walking by saying, no speak English.
Right.
Like there's such an arrogance to the idea that not only that they're going to be here, but that they're not going to feel bad about anything that they do that's wrong. And Carol, 9 million people have come across this border, of which a good percent of them are these young men's ages and have, I would guess, a similar intent to what these young men are. Is there any concern in your thinking right now that we have a small military-sized group of people here that wish us harm?
I'm deeply concerned about it. It's, in fact, I would say that the two things that I worry about politically right now is what's going on in Israel and what's going on at our border. And that's all I want to kind of write about and talk about, because I think that those things are actually very connected. Kurt Schlichter, I haven't read it yet, but he has a new book out where he describes a scenario that we all fear, which is terrorists coming across our borders, staging attacks on various soft targets, places where people congregate, and what would happen to an America that allows this to happen. Glenn Reynolds from Instapundit covered this week on his Substack, also an amazing read. What would happen to us? What would happen to all of our institutions and neighborhoods, etc.? I think all of this is so scary, and we need to take it so seriously. And I know that you know this, but just to remind your readers, I came to America as a refugee. I just want people to understand that what we have going on is not a refugee crisis. These are not refugees coming to our borders. I didn't have the option. Our family didn't just hop on a flight, from the Soviet Union and come to America. We were allowed into Italy, where we were allowed to apply for refugee status at a variety of countries, and the one that let you in is the one that let you in. It's not like, hi, here I am, take care of me. And the countries that did let us in, we would have to promise not to take public funds. We would have to promise that there would be somebody there to collect us and to make sure that we weren't a drain on the social safety net. What we have going on right now is a terrifying situation where we can't afford it. We can't afford to house and clothe and everything, every person in the world who wants to come to America. I'm sorry. And then the second part is we have no idea who's coming in. Those double middle finger giving migrants are now spread out throughout the country. We don't know where they are. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what they're doing. And you have a really scary situation where we have no control.
Carol Markowitz, reader in the Post. Watch her, listen to her on the Carol Markowitz show. I started to say That Carol Show. I just can't get that thing out of my head. That's right. And we'll talk to you again sometime soon.
Thank you, Kevin.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.